My name's Rob Favor. I'm pretty new to the village. I've only been here about 1,000 days, maybe 1,200 days at this point. But I'm glad to be here. Awesome, thanks for the music, that's great. But we wanted to thank WRLIS, the Women's Round Lake Improvement Society, and specifically Mary Hayden, who's heading up the Improvements Committee. You are the Improvements Committee, and I'm glad to work with you a little bit on some things. But also the village for providing this place for us to talk. And the session tonight is on invasives, right? Plant invaders. You know, specifically ones that you might find in your yard or in local fields and meadows or in the village woods and the parks and whatnot around here. And Kathy Hackert is, among other things, I'm learning a lot, there are other things, is a crusader for fighting invasives. And Mary met her at a presentation with the Ballston Spa Home and Garden Club. And we thought we would use this event to kind of help people become knowledgeable about what's growing all around us that maybe we don't want to have growing around us. And also point that we're going to have a couple of weed polls. And so there's information about that in the back, and there's a lot of information to learn tonight. So we figured you have a presentation and we have some time for question and answer, whatever makes sense. But thanks for being here, Kathy Hackert.
Thank you. First, just to introduce myself a little bit further, my main gig is that I'm a classical musician. I'm a cellist. I play in the Albany Symphony. And I play in Schenectady Symphony as substitute all around. But that's kind of my, and I'm a retired orchestra teacher. So teaching, presentations, I'm good with that, And how did I wind up coming to this? I mean, of all the things that I do, how did I wind up doing this? Well, I'm an avid gardener. I inherited this from my dad and my grandfather. We were all big gardeners. And my daughter has inherited it from me as well. And she and her husband bought a house in New Hampshire in 2020. And they started renovating the property, and she's pulling out all this stuff, and she's with the phone, with the beauty of it, telling a phone call with video. Mom, I'm going to use swear word. What the hell is this? Okay, so she's showing me this vine thing that's wrapped around their rhododendron, and it has a root that's about 10 feet long, and it's like bright orange. And I have no clue what this is. So she said, it's all over the place here. We're just pulling and digging and pulling and digging. It's like we're going to lose the whole front yard because it's full of these roots. So long story short, that sent me down a rabbit hole. I've gone down many rabbit holes. And the rabbit hole said Oriental bittersweet. Okay, so then I called her back and I said, Oriental bittersweet. She said, well, how do I get rid of it? And I said, this is a tough one. And so she went down her own rabbit hole. And there's an article that she sent to me, I forgot what journal it came from, but it's called Oriental Bittersweet, the Vine That Swallowed New Hampshire. That's hopeful. So that, then I started seeing it around my neighborhood. And it's like, once you see these things, you can't unsee them anymore. And so one rabbit hole turned into like many rabbit holes. It's like Prairie Dog Village. And I started trying to see on the side of the Northway, because I'm up and down the Northway all the time, I'm sure you are too, between exit 10 and exit 9, or exit 11 and 9. What the heck is going on in the woods over there? And I'm looking at this stuff, and now I know it's an infestation, major, of Oriental bittersweet. Okay, so if you look like, this is how it's going to look in a few months. Wow. That's how it looked last summer. That's not a picture there, but that's how it looked. The trees look like giant Godzillas. They don't look like trees anymore. And that's Oriental bittersweet that's covering them over. And what will happen, these trees will break and they die. And I started becoming a crusader about this because if we don't do something soon, we're not going to have any forests in the great Northeast anymore. This is going on across New England, and into New Jersey, it's everywhere. And it is what it is. The other thing that got me going with this too, that set me going, is in 2019, I was over in England. I have a friend who lives in Nottingham. And it was springtime, and she's going out in her yard every morning. She's got a garden about maybe the size of this area. She's going out like, almost with a magnifying glass. Trina, what the heck are you doing, Trina? She says, I'm looking for knotweed. I said, what do you mean you're looking for knotweed? She said, here in England, if you have Japanese knotweed on your property, you can't sell it. And if you want to buy property, you will not get a mortgage if it's on the property, unless the government comes and abates. Okay, now what does abatement mean? 10 feet down removal of the whole soil.
Oh my God.
Generally, it means the removal of the house as well, because the house can't survive the 10 feet of soil. So it's like, do we have this in the United States? At that time, I didn't know. And now, people don't understand. I mean, you'll see some pictures here. Japanese knotweed grows through houses. It grows through concrete. It grows through basements. It comes up on the side walls. I consider of all the evil weeds, that's number one. Because if you get that one, it's really, really hard to eliminate. And I think eliminate is a word you can't use with Japanese knotweed. Control, maybe. So, okay, now let's go to the next slide. Okay, this is, I attended in 2024 the New York State Invasive Species Conference, and there will be another one. It's held in Saratoga. I have a sheet of information over here of sources, it's like the bibliography of my talk, okay? So if you want to go, you can register to go, it's free. And I went the first year, and the first time I went, I was first off very encouraged that people in New York State knew what the heck was going on out there, but very depressed that they're not doing anything about it. They don't have the manpower. So that started me going when I did my first time around with this talk at the Boston Spa Home and Garden Club. It has to start from us. The state doesn't have the money. The state doesn't have the wherewithal. It has to come from the towns and municipalities. The towns and municipalities, they have language on the books. They need to start enforcing it. We need to start doing our thing, talking to our neighbors. I mean, you don't have to go to the neighbor and say, hey, you got it not me, you got to get rid of it. There are ways to go about doing this. So here we are. These are high impact invasive species. This is I took pictures of the slides they were showing us. Look at the plants. 223 invasive species. It's like it's a war out there. I mean, you can't do this. Nothing else you can say about it. So we're getting a little into the sciencey part here. Invasive plants do better. Comparative studies of invasive and native plants with rising CO2 show that invasive plants perform better. Bigger roots, harder to kill. Now, I just want to address this right off the bat, that I don't want to get the political here. I don't want to say global warming is caused by people or caused by the sun. It's happening. Okay, so who causes it? I don't care. It's happening. And CO2 levels have risen, and the invasives love it. And our natives don't. Rising CO2 and temperature can also alter the biocontrol efficiencies. Herbicides that used to work don't. They've also gotten resistant to it. It's a take-home point. All plants do better with higher CO2, but relative improvements matter. Watch for hardier invasives. Hardier invasives, key word. They're getting stronger. That's a funny joke, though. That's how I feel about my garden sometimes. And then I also just have to, just as an aside, just to give you the definitions that I work with. A weed versus an invasive, okay? A weed, invasive. In my world, a weed is anything growing in a place I don't want it. It could be a rose bush. If it's in a place I don't want it, it gets shovel pruned anyway. So, but the invasives are the ones who want to take over the world. And they're from not here. They're not native.
Are they all from the Far East?
Seems like it.
Interesting.
There are some people out there who've gone down their own rabbit holes. They're saying that this was a plan by the Chinese back in the 1800s. That they knew it was going to be long-term and they knew it was going to take a while.
They were brought over here on purpose by Americans.
They were brought over here by the gardeners in the 1800s, so if we have any complaints with any, the Japanese knotweed, there is actually an article, it's put out by the BBC, if you want to look it up, it's online about Japanese knotweed. They actually know the guy that imported it, the year he imported it, I think it was 1845, brought the first specimens to Kew Gardens, beautiful Kew Gardens in England. If you've ever been to those, they're gorgeous, and it went wild. They didn't know what to do. And so it wound up just getting loose because each Japanese knotweed around, when you'll see the pictures, puts out 150,000 seeds. So it got all over England. Here's what's interesting about the Japanese knotweed that's in the world right now. It's all female. It's all female. It's all the same plant, they're saying. It's a monster. I mean, so okay, invasives tend to be active longer than the natives. I've been really noticing this. You see the things that are greening up earlier are most of the time the invasives and the weeds. And what keeps their leaves longer in the fall? The invasives. They lose their leaves after the maples have all fallen and everything. So they have a much longer growing season than our regular plants and trees do. Burning bush is another one that they hate. I mean, that's another invasive. I have a Japanese barberry. I have 2 of them in my garden. I've never had a problem with them spreading. So I don't know if I've got mutant plants or what, but I've never had a problem with them. Okay, so step 1. Match the response to the scale of the problem. Okay, so you've got, like for me, I'm doing overkill. I'll use myself as an example. I have a problem with violets that were brought they came from my father's house, and they're just running amok. I've had enough. And I've tried Roundup, I've pulled them out, I've dug them out, they always come back. I have bought the heavy-duty brush killer. Those guys are going down this year. I've had enough. That's overkill. That's not this. They're saying to choose your weapons. Choose your weapons. We should expect to be blindsided by something new every few years and prepare accordingly. They're telling us at the conference there are more invasive things coming. They know it. There are things showing up that are not alarming as like these other ones that we're dealing with right now. No one can be a free rider. No one can be left out of decisions. And I think this is what would happen. Improve policy coherence, engage broadly across all stakeholders, indigenous peoples, local communities. You can read that. I don't need to read it to you. I hate when the weatherman has to read Johnstown, 68 degrees. It's right there. So anyway, so we're all in this together. It's a community. It has to be a community. Now, this is what's really scary. This is the invasion curve. Most of the things that we're talking about today are in Tier 4. That there's no way we're going to contain them. We're just try to contain them as much as we can. It's the cat's out of the bag. The horse is out of the barn. So here we are, we're educated, prevention, yeah, right. Eradication, you can do the best you can. Containment, you can try. But Tier 4 is where most of these things are at this point, because we didn't do number 3.
So I got a couple questions. So let's say that, I'm gonna stop beating up China. Well, I got nothing else. Let's say they came from China.
There's no natural predators in these things here. There's no natural predators. Like Japanese knotweed in Japan is not a problem.
So that was going to be my question. So let's take China. Let's say these are coming from China. Is China like battling this as well? What's it like? Why is that?
Because like the Japanese knotweed, there are things in the ground. I'm not a botanist, so there are nematodes and there's funguses that are in the ground that control the Japanese knotweed that get at it. Okay. Now, yeah, they know what it is. They're scared to bring it here. Unintended consequences. Okay? So like in bittersweet, there is a bug, but they're nervous about letting it loose because they don't know what else it's going to go into. We're already got the spotted lanternfly. Yeah. So what we're talking about, when we say the word invasive, they're not from here. They're not from here. They're from someplace else where they do have natural predators, or the birds eat them, or they have caterpillars that eat them and stuff like that. But they don't have any of that here because they're not native.
So my follow-up is, would this not have been inevitable anyway? I mean, assuming I think plants or seeds travel via birds, right? Assuming that's the case. Would birds eventually? Wouldn't that eventually?
Well, some of I've read. Like I said, I've gone down many rabbit holes. One of the things is about the colonialism, about the global economy and stuff moving around that didn't do that before the say the mid 1800s. There wasn't that kind of stuff moving between countries. I mean, a lot of the bugs, the spotted lanternfly, or some of these other things that we've got came on pallets. They were in the wood pallets. The Japanese beetle, which as a kid growing up on Long Island, they were destroying the potato fields. They came in pallets.
Okay.
So,
It's hard from across oceans, basically.
Yeah.
They need help.
These are intercontinental.
yeah, they need help to get across the ocean.
It was the
So-
Industrial Revolution. It was the Industrial Revolution, and people now having spare time to garden and things like that, and
Yep.
money, it just.
That's all, it's
all
all.
a trade.
They wanted the exotics.
Huh?
They wanted the exotics. People were
They
going
did.
around the world.
Well, that's what I said, we can complain about them all we want, they're all dead. And we're stuck with what they've done. And we really are stuck with what they did. Let me see if I get any of my notes here. All right. Okay. Burning bush is a bad one. The calorie pear they're all after now too, and I think they're so beautiful. They're so, but the invasive world, they want you to cut it down if you have it on your yard.
What's this global thug? Hogan grass?
Conga grass. Conga grass. Okay.
I had that in my woods in Georgia.
I was just gonna say, the fire in Hawaii. Conga grass.
Okay.
Conga grass.
Common.
Congan grass. I think that's how you pronounce it. All right, so we talked that. So that was what was fueling the fire. I didn't remember about when they were talking about Hawaii that they were having some kind of grass that was the problem and it was so flammable. Well, you're looking at it at a version of it here. Okay, this is a fragmite. They are everywhere. On the side, I cut this not too far from my house. I was going to light this up for you to show you how flammable they are, but with all the rain, it hasn't dried out. These things, because I've done it, if you hold the match here, it looks like a firework. Okay, it's really scary. And if you look out, probably this outside the window, if you look hard enough, these things are really very flammable. And I didn't get into, when I talked at the garden club, I didn't talk about these, but now this is 2 years later, and now this is crazy. When was the last time you saw a cattail?
We have them in the new water retention pond in our subdivision, but I know that it's kind of that, I say fragmites.
Every spring we go through and dig out the phragmites.
Yeah, because they're taking over the habitat of the cattails.
I haven't lived here very long. Is that the plant that you see along the interstate everywhere? And it isn't invasive, it is.
And most of them are about this tall.
Yeah.
They got a brush on the top.
Yeah, I didn't, I had a choice, I was gonna cut one that had all the, and I said, that's seeds, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So I took one here that looks like corn stalk, but here, you can pass that one around. But, these ones here, how many of these have you seen? Tree of Heaven is a new one on my radar. Tree of Heaven is a tree that passes, you might look at it and think it's a sumac, okay? Tree of Heaven is here in the middle. It looks like a sumac, but notice it has a terminal, okay? And if you look close at the leaves, this picture doesn't do justice. It looks like it has a thumb on the leaf. And if you crush the leaves, it smells like rotten peanut butter. This is a really bad thing. And I've seen it around, I've seen it in Clifton Park. It's one of these things that if you cut it, it will run, it can go 50 feet and start putting up trees all over the place. It will fight back. And just as a little aside, I was on a concert tour this past summer in Italy, and it was blowing me away. You know how it is with these invasives, once you see them, you can't not see them. And we're on a bus, and we're going, and you see all these beautiful lemon tree groves, and you see the olive groves, and these trees, the perimeter of all these fields is Tree of Heaven. And I'm looking at that one. Don't you guys know what's going to happen? It's going to take over the olive groves. Don't you get this? And in Rome, they're growing right next to some of the Roman ruins, trees of heaven. It's like, don't you understand? It's going to take out the foundations of these things and grow through the rocks.
Is that the same as that ailanthus tree?
Yes. Yeah.
How tall is that?
Oh, it can get quite tall.
Like 5 feet?
50,
No,
60 feet.
15, 20, 30 feet.
The big one on Cemetery Road.
There's a big one right when you get on exit 8A going northbound on the northway. There's one that's on the curve on the entrance ramp. I I go to church over that way, I look at it every Sunday.
Sure you can.
According to Wikipedia, it was introduced as an ornamental in 1784.
Yeah. Yep. So we're the front line of the garden. If you're a gardener, you're on the front lines of this stuff, being aware of it. I'm glad that you're here because that really is the first step, is to try to learn something about this. Okay, now we're going to talk about individuals. Garlic mustard. I understand you have a war going on with that here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have it too, but the thing about garlic mustard is it doesn't put out seeds until the second year. So if you have just a first year plant and you don't get to it, you're good. You got to get to it the next spring. Okay, the seeds happen the flowers and the seeds happen the second year. Now garlic mustard is one of these things, it's called, I can say it right, allelopathic. And what it does is it puts chemicals into the ground to stop anything else from growing. Black walnut trees do this. Tree of heaven does this. Garlic mustard does this. So when you pull out your garlic mustard, you probably won't see any other weeds there.
Yeah.
Because they've made sure that they didn't grow. Now, the great thing about garlic mustard, this is a nice plant up over here, okay? The great thing about garlic mustard is that it's quite edible. Okay, that tastes good. That's a good one. I have a handout here about garlic mustard, and I also included 2 recipes. One is to make garlic mustard. This is good. A garlic mustard pesto, which was very good. I made all these and put it on crackers. And there's another recipe for garlic mustard, like doing it in a frying pan with oil and garlic, and I threw some spinach in. It was great. I mean, to me, this is the biggest revenge on a weed. Eat it. Eat it. Yeah, it's good. Any questions so far? It's an easy one to pull out. I've got one over here. I guess you all know what it looks like, though. It has an S-shaped root. That's one of the characteristics of it. They talk about an S-shaped root.
Does it grow more by water or the woods?
Anywhere.
Cleveland
See, I thought of the trees in that picture.
Along the trail. Yeah.
All along the trail. It's all over the place. And it's one of these ones that will grow anywhere it gets the seeds in.
And it starts really low and small, which when Sean Rao gave a talk here about foraging, he's like, that's when you want to eat it because it's tender.
Yeah.
This is very good.
Right? Before it's gone to seed and flower. I mean, that's a big, heavy plant.
Well, you want to get it before it goes to seed. I'm just telling you, that's a really good
It's so
flavor.
good. All right.
And when does it go to seed?
Soon.
After the flowers,
Immediately.
the flowers are where the seeds come from.
Yeah.
So if it's flowering now, you want to get it out. Now, last year I had a whole, under my rose bushes, I had a whole bunch of it, but I had knee surgery last year. I did nothing with my gardens except watch all the weeds grow. But I knew because it was garlic mustard, if I could get out this April, I'd be good to go, and I did. And it took me all of like 15 minutes to pull them out because they just come out really easy, especially with all this rain. They come out of the ground. This is a great time to do garlic mustard. Yeah. Okay, so anything else I need to say about that? Yeah, it invades forest floors and creates a monoculture, again, because it's allelopathic. Okay. This is another native one that people have trouble with. I don't have this problem, but a lot of people do. Japanese stiltgrass. Again, it is another allelopathic. It creates a mat in the area. Pulling it out, yeah, you can pull it out, but you just have to keep at it. You know, when you get these things in your gardens, it's going to be your hobby for a few years to try to get them out. This one here, this next one, is not here yet. It's coming. Okay. I took these pictures. I was shocked. Well, my brother lives on Long Island in the house I grew up in, and he told me he's been seeing this ivy in the ground on his neighbor's property, and he doesn't know what it is. So I looked at it and went, that looks like ivy, you know, like, he says, yeah, but it's on the ground. Well, what this stuff does, you can't really see it. It's on the ground, and then it goes up. And this is what it does to a tree. That tree has 2 years, and it's going to be dead. And you can see how they do it. It goes up, and then it leaves out. And what it also does is and you notice this picture, how leafed out it is and how the trees are not. It just smothers them. The trees can't leaf out. And this, I took these pictures about this time last year on Long Island. And I was just shocked at this. And it's all over Long Island and New York, the New York metro area, the Bronx. It was amazing to me, just amazing. Nobody's doing anything. You know, and these trees are going to be dead. And then they become a fire.
What's that at the root? Does it kill what's going
Well,
on?
even with it's another one of these things like bittersweet. If you cut it off, like right now, okay, you'll save the tree top for now, but you're going to get 100 million coming out of the ground. And I mean 100 million. I'm not just picking up the number. These invasives are scary. So that's the English ivy picture.
When you say it's not here yet, I said, it's here, I thought.
I haven't seen it here. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the ivy it girdles and it girdles the tree, shades the leaves. It covers all the tree branches. It doesn't just go up the trunk. It goes down the branches too. And it just goes around on the ground until it finds a host, and then it goes vertical. And it also will cover houses. We're talking about it's not here yet. When I went to the conference, which was 2 years ago, they said the kudzu is in Poughkeepsie. Now, if that doesn't scare you, I know, this is seeing you come out of this stuff and go, oh my God, what can we do? Okay, here we come to the good one. This is the one that's overrunning the world up here. I have a couple of them here. The giveaway for Oriental Bittersweet, when you pull it out, see how tiny these are? I pulled them out this afternoon. You see the orange roots? The orange roots are the giveaway that you've got bittersweet. Here's this is how this Oriental Bittersweet can grow, according to what I've read, can grow up to 40 feet in a year. Okay? Now, this one I pulled out, it was I had a smoke bush that's as high as this room. And this was winding up in the smoke bush, and I'm like, what the hell? And I pulled it out, and there's the orange root. Well, it's not. And so this was not in my garden 2 weeks ago. I did not see this 2 weeks ago.
And you pulled it out of your garden?
This afternoon, at 2 o'clock, when it stopped raining.
There is a native bittersweet.
There is.
Is there an easy way to tell the difference?
I'm not aware of this. The leaf is smaller when they're full size. The leaf of the American bittersweet is smaller. But I'm just going to tell you, if you've got bittersweet in your yard, it's probably not native
Yeah, sure it is.
at this point. So we can pass this around and take a look at this. And it has these lovely berries. It has these lovely berries that people used to make fall decorations out of, and now we beg, please don't go and collect them and make decorations out of it. And if you know somebody who's got it on their property and the berries start to form, go over and cut them off, put them in the trash can. Don't let the birds eat them, because the birds eat them and they poop them out all over the place, and that's how it's getting around. So, and here's an example of, if you can see, there's a tree under here with the. Where's that other one? Yeah, get that one. That's all. And again, here, this is like what you're going to see on the side of the Northway in not too long. Yeah. I mean, I was watching this all winter as I'm going up and down the Northway. You can see the trees. It looks like they have a veil when there's no leaves. It looks like a veil, and a lot of trees are broken. You can see. Yeah, this is great. This is Oriental Bittersweet's work.
Don't circle south.
This is Oriental Bittersweet's work.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
You can see that there is a branch in there. I've seen Oriental Bittersweet that is so big on a tree it looks like a snake. It looks like a snake. And here's what the leaf is. The leaf close up is kind of rounded. Okay. And now the number one. Number one. Japanese knotweed. Okay. This is how it came out of the ground about a week ago. It looks like red asparagus, doesn't it? Okay? Right now the Japanese knotweed stand near my house is about this high. In a week. It can grow up to 10 feet tall in a season. And it can grow through anything. Okay, now here's the story of Japanese mountain. It evolved on the volcanic mountainsides in Japan. It survives heat. It survives toxic gases. It was, according to what I read in one source, the first thing that came out of the ground after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So what does that tell you? Okay, bad news. It's a lovely plant. I can understand why they brought it over here. Here's how it looks in the fall. 150,000 seeds per, 100, yeah, that's another one of those ones that has like 100,000 seeds per branch. And it gets around with a very, very vigorous root system. And what's really scary about it is because it has such, you have to admire it for a certain, I mean, just its survival is just really an amazing thing. But if you have a piece of Japanese knotweed that is the size of a grain of sand, it can grow from that. It can sit in the ground for 20 years and then start growing when conditions are right. So this is bad. And what's happening is our municipalities doing their usual summer road work, they go out and mow the grass. And they're taking it all over the place. Same thing with phragmites. They're mowing them and you're taking them all over the place. There's a little stand of Japanese knotweed on the road going to my daughter's place in New Hampshire. She said, "Mom, how did it get here?" It's like one little bit. It probably flew off a landscaper's truck. The people in North Carolina are having all kinds of problems with it because it came with the floods. A lot of the invasives are moving around with floodwaters. So, and this one is just, like I said, I told you the history. It's the survivor. You can't eat this, but you have to eat it when it's like this. It's too late now. I've been told, I haven't cooked it up because I just hate this thing so much I didn't want to touch it. I've been told it tastes like rhubarb. It cooks up like rhubarb. I'm not going to touch it. But let's see. It's very difficult to kill. It grows into concrete, has no predators. We're talking about the predators. It has no predators here. Yeah, an atomic survivor. Okay. New York City has spent millions of dollars trying to clean up the Bronx River. Now, if any of you guys know the Bronx River, it's basically a creek. It's not much of a river. I grew up right near it. But what's happened is knotweed likes the water too. It's like the phragmite. And this is what happened. And then this is also what happens when it runs amok. I got more. It will grow into your house.
So how do you effectively stop it if you don't get the whole root, which most of us don't?
No, you won't, because that root can be 10 feet deep, straight down.
So what do we do?
There's ways to go at it. You may never get it all.
But how do we at least try?
I'll come to that.
Okay.
The bottle's over there. At least one of the things that's recommended is that bottle that's over there.
Is it a chemical or is it organic? Because that's 100% organics.
I'm just going to tell you, you weren't here at the beginning. None of these things are native to our country. They're not native to Europe. The only way to get them is a herbicide. The only way. There are no natural predators. There's no natural thing you can do with it. There's nothing. I'm an organic kind of person too. I have roses that I don't spray. But for me, these things have crossed the line. And I have to resort to the chemicals because there's no other way.
But here we have to worry about water quality.
Well, there is a brand of and I didn't put that in my notes. There is a brand of herbicide that is certified for aquatic treatment. You'd have to look it up, but it's there. I don't know if it's it's not a Roundup, but it might be trichloroester or something like that. If anybody knows, say so. But there is one for aquatic, because a lot of the Japanese knotweed goes to aquatic areas. But you can see that picture up there, before and after. And then there it is growing out of the house. I know, you say that, oh my God. Now, this is from around Boston Spa. Now, I didn't have time to take round lake pictures, but you just have to trust me on this. This is, can you name that? That's not real.
Oh, is that?
That's the back of the St. Mary's parking lot, St. Mary's Church parking lot. This is, I don't know what road it is, but this has got knotweed over here, and it has bittersweet over there. And this one here is, this is by the, what used to be the Angelica factory. That's full of English ivy.
Is English ivy the same as the house plant?
Yeah.
English ivy?
You know, and that, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was down in Florida at a place called Sunken Gardens in St. Petersburg. Anybody been there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They have, we were there, my cousin and I were there, there's nobody there. We go to this one back place, and there's this vine going up the trees, and it's got these giant, it looks like the pothos I have in my kitchen. So I said to the gardener who happened to be there, I said, is that the pothos that I have in my kitchen? He said, yeah, it's invasive down here. And he said that's how big the leaves were like this. And then I also found out spider plants, our beloved spider plants, don't plant them in Florida, they're considered an invasive. They run amok down there. And because they're on the ground, they send out the runners, and they become invasive down there. It's just interesting to me to go to these two places that, because I have a place in Florida that there's different invasives wherever you go. And in Florida, everything's got thorns. You want to pull a weed, you've got to have armor on. Everything's got thorns. So this is what I'm looking at. My neighbor's yard.
Oh, wow.
Bittersweet heaven.
Wow.
And this is my rose. Some of my roses. I have grapes up here. I have all kinds of nice flowers over there. But this is what I'm dealing with. And I'm waiting for it to come across the trees, because the day it comes across from his yard into my yard, he's getting sued. Because I have talked to him. I have brought materials over to him. I have offered to help pay for it. He's done nothing. So when they come into my trees, he's going to get sued, because you can. New York State says you can.
Oh.
So this is also more knotweed by the Angelica factory. And this is my front garden last spring. Do you see, can you spot the bittersweet? That's a holly behind it. Yep, you have to be vigilant. This is again in my yard. This is my neighbor's yard again. See all this? I think this is a tree of heaven here. I think it's a tree of heaven, and then that's all his junk. That's all his junk. Yep, that's what I'm up against. This is what my daughter sees across the street from her house. Here's a house that's nicely taken care of. There's this one. And she sent me a picture today of what it looks like today. This is much expanded from what it was last year. Because it doesn't die back. It just expands. I mean, the bittersweet can get to be 60 feet when it's long, at its full length. And they say it can grow 20, 30 feet in a year. After that little bit, I can see that. So people live in that house too. And this is my last slide. That's my last slide. So, what can we do about it? Now that's my next thing. What can we do about it? Now you know. What can we do? First, you have to ID what you're up against. If you're not sure, you need to get a plant ID thing in your phone. Or become really sure about what it is. I mean, garlic mustard, just eat it. You'll know it's garlic mustard. And then you have to choose your battle. How are you going to do this? The timing is everything, and that's where we ask about how to get rid of this stuff. I have a piece of paper. I have several stuff over there. There's a lot about timing. Japanese knotweed, if you want to get rid of it, or try to start getting rid of it, you have to wait till it flowers. You have to treat it between when it flowers and first frost. If you don't treat it, you're spitting into the wind. You don't want to cut it, because if you cut it, you're going to get 100 million more. Same thing with most of these trees, like the tree of heaven and all that. And there's different techniques with these trees, as they have this technique called, well, I don't know what the, you cut it off and you paint it up with Roundup, or you paint. Then there's another one, if it's big, you hack it with a knife or something like that and squirt the stuff in it. That's called hack and squirt. Then there's foliar, where you just spray it on the leaves. Some things will respond to that, like garlic mustard can kill that in no time. So I have here, I got this from one of the online things that I took. A cut stump, that's what I was talking about. You cut the stump and put the herbicide on it. Then basil bark is one that I haven't done, but I'm intrigued by it. You get a glove or something like that, and you use diesel fluid and this kind of stuff, and you just rub it on the trunk. And it's supposed to kill it. It's like, well, that'd be really, really easy. You don't have to do anything. And then the hack and squirt. So it's all on here, on this sheet. This sheet is what will work on what tree or what thing. And then this is a really important sheet. How do you dispose of them? Okay? Most of the time you want to put them in a black plastic bag. Of course, all our municipalities say you can't have black plastic bags. But you want to put it in a black plastic bag, put it on your driveway until it rots and turns into ink. Some of it you can burn, but this sheet I came across, I don't know who it came from, but it tells you what to do to get rid of it. Some things can go in the landfill. Most things you do not want to put in a compost pile and compost them. You don't want to do that because you're asking for it then. I also have here sheets that is the latest that I could find of what's considered an invasive in New York State for plants, a shopping list. And then I put together, I call this the bibliography page, some plant IDs, information, herbicide sources, organizations that are doing this. And also if you want to go to the conference, I put the conference info on this too. So that's that. Now, the big thing, another big thing here, what can we do? This applies to the municipalities. Most municipalities have laws on the books that they're not even aware of. This is the 2020 Property Maintenance Code of New York State. There hasn't been a new one since then. This is Section 302, 302.4, weeds. Except as provided for in statute, law, ordinance, or other regulations, all developed areas or premises that are intended to be used by building occupants or the public shall be maintained free from weeds in excess of 10 inches. Noxious weeds shall be prohibited. That's that list, the noxious weed list. So municipalities have a leg to stand on if they want to go around and point out to people that, you've got something growing here that you may not want. I also looked up the village of Round Lake to see, and the village said that they were subscribing to the International Property Management Code, which says basically the same thing, but it has another paragraph. It says, upon failure of the owner or agent having charge of a property to cut and destroy weeds after service of a notation of violation, they shall be subject to prosecution in accordance with section 106.3 as prescribed by the authority having jurisdiction. Upon failure to comply with the notice of violation, any duly authorized employee of the jurisdiction or contractor hired by the jurisdiction shall be authorized to enter upon the property in violation and cut and destroy the weeds growing therein. And the costs of such removal shall be paid by the owner or agent responsible for the property. So, yes?
Weed is a non-scientific term. So if it's in, I wonder how a lawyer would define.
This is the list of noxious weeds in New York State.
Noxious weeds.
Noxious weeds.
From,
Prohibited.
what's the source of the list?
Well, the source?
Because
is
there's a
New York
lot of
State.
nice native plants that people consider weeds.
Correct.
So,
No, it did reference the noxious weed list.
oh, okay, it does.
It
in
did,
the
yeah, from what she
regulations?
said, yeah, it did
Oh, good,
reference
good,
the list,
good,
yeah.
okay.
And the noxious weed list, I think there might be even a more updated one because some of the ones that I see that are marginally, I'm pretty sure they've been moved up.
Okay.
But sometimes that stuff is hard to find.
Yeah.
You know. But I had gotten that list from when I went to the conference, the New York State Invasive Species Conference. That's where that came from.
Thank you.
So this stuff is the stuff that I have found. I got this at Tractor Supply because the big boxes did not have this. This is 41% glyphosate. I think this will kill anything. You're supposed to put 2 tablespoons in 24 ounces. Okay, so this is like, for me, it's going to be a lifetime supply. But I'm going to try it on those violets. I've had it with them.
What is the name of it?
It is called Weed and Grass Killer 41% glyphosate. I'll leave the bottle here, but Tractor Supply has it. I also put that on the sheet of sources that you can probably get it on Amazon, but I try to do local business if I can. So the big boxes, if you want to try something that might be less overkill, like we're talking about choosing your battles, you might want to try brush killer, poison ivy killer, and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, then step up to the next thing. I told you I've had it with violets. They're going down. The violets are going down. So,
Now, of course, that is dangerous stuff. I don't know how
Yeah.
people have not used that before.
yeah, I mean, it's a chemical debate is a worthy debate, but we're up against things that don't have any
Well, I
predators.
was just gonna mention wearing rubber gloves,
Yeah,
you know, long pants.
absolutely. I put goggles on and everything. Whatever it says there, you do. Yes.
An organic gardener who helped me in my yard when I lived in Oklahoma showed me some stuff, which I forgot the name of it right now, but I used it, she told me to use an eyedropper, so I took some
Or
eyedroppers.
dabber. You know like the bingo dabbers?
Oh,
Okay.
okay, this is even smaller, because I used to, and we would go around, it took two of us to do it because one person would, we had a mat over trying to keep the woody plants out, and so one person would cut it and hold it, and the other person could then, because it would just, it could put that one drop and only go on that, and it didn't disturb the other plants around.
Yeah.
It was like-
A lot of people using like the bingo dogger would say that.
Yeah, on that, so when you cut it, it's.
But you have to remember that the ideal time to do any of this is after July, when the trees are starting to go down with their liquids. Okay, because right now everything's going up. So the idea is you want it to go down, you want it to kill the roots. So they usually say after July is the time to really start getting busy. If you have these little saplings of bittersweet, you know, if you can try pulling them out and maybe you get the root, maybe you don't. But you can always take a dabber with some of that stuff on it and just cut it off and just dab it on and hope for the best. And if it doesn't work, see you in July.
And this was really effective, what we did.
But the timing, and that's on one of those sheets, the timing is all there, that you have to do it at a certain time, otherwise you might as well not bother. And really, if you think about it, when they're trying to get ready for winter and everything's going down, that's when you want to send it. That's when you send the poison down. I hate these things, I do.
And there's a lot of videos on YouTube
Oh,
that
yes.
show how to do it, and it's less intimidating if you see it. It's not just going up to these things and spraying it or the cloud going back in your face. A lot of it's
Well, that's one of the
very-
things that I've learned with the hack and squirt with
Yeah.
that it's so specific to the one you want to get. You know, rather than just go spray everybody.
From what I understand, knotweed is hollow, so if you cut it and then just pour whatever poison you got into the hollow stem.
I don't know.
I know, I've read some people use battery acid.
Yeah, let me tell you what my brother-in-law in Schenectady did. He thought it was bamboo his neighbor had. I went down and looked at it and said, sorry,
Yeah.
Frank, it's not
Yeah.
me. He's got a concrete swimming pool about 6 feet
Mm-hmm.
from where it is, a concrete pool. So he says, how deep do the roots go? I said, the roots for this can go about 10 feet deep. He dug a trench 10 feet deep, okay? He put in a piece of corrugated metal, like roofing, and then buried it in there to keep it out of his pool. Now, I didn't tell you about anybody had a run-in with goutweed? Agapodium? Snow in summer? Has all these cute names. All right, I had it in my garden, I planted it. And it reverted and went back, it was variegated, it went back to being green and run amok, okay? I was going insane, this is probably 30 years ago now. I was going insane, it was in one corner of my gardens, and I had peonies there, and I had hydrangeas and everything, and it was just, and it chokes everything. And if you pull it out, it's got runners, it's got stolons, it does seeds, it's like another perfect plant. So what I had to do to get rid of it, I saved my pennies, I had a landscaper come, we went from this corner to that corner over here. We dug down 3 feet, took out all the dirt, all the plants. Before they lined the bottom of it with the kind of underlay they put on highways. It's like metal.
Oh my God.
Okay? And then along the property line, I put in 2-foot roof flashing, vertical. Because it had gotten into the neighbors' yards too. I don't want it coming back. And then we brought in new dirt. The landscaper told me he took all the dirt from my house and put it in the back and said they could never use it because it was just covered with goutweed, just covered with it. And I have had to be, 30 years later, I'll still get something pop up and I shoot it with Roundup. It's just, that was my first round of invasives about 30 years ago. Yes.
I heard I've never tried it, I was gonna ask if you, for like Japanese knotweed, there's one down near the creek here that's relatively confined area, it's a big one, but that if you put down an impervious, like a tarp.
You saw the picture of it growing through the house.
Yeah, so that doesn't work, I've heard that can work, it takes a long time, but I heard it
It'll
works.
just grow through it.
Like,
It grows through a house, it grows through concrete. If you see it in the driveway, now I want you to go back to that picture. I mean, Japanese knotweed is number one of the evil weeds. And you gotta take the gloves off on this one, because I mean, you see in England, you can't sell your house if it's on the property. You're done. There have been elderly people over there, I just read about this like a couple months ago, they're killing themselves because they can't sell their house.
well, it's everywhere here, so if we ever have that long here, we're in trouble.
Yeah. But that's why, I'm always monitoring what's around my place.
Yeah.
And I got the bittersweet man next door, and I think there's a tree of heaven there too.
Yeah.
I haven't gone over to the yard to see if it smells like.
Well, I mean, in the woods, I mean, nobody's out in the woods cleaning.
Yeah. And let me see if I have anything else that I wanted to say. Disposing of the bodies the right way and wrong way, that's on that sheet.
And the roads are just like a pathway for all this stuff. But once
So
you
our
get into the
responsibilities,
it's
our responsibilities as home gardeners is to ID these things, remove them, and to educate our neighbors and create an awareness of what's going on out there in the trees. The communities has a role, like having, I guess you're doing it, a garlic mustard pulling party. Some places are having hack and squirt parties, which sounds obscene to me. Putting parties, which again is like something a middle school kid would do. And then some communities have come up with the idea of ID patrols, where they have the citizens who will patrol the municipality and let them know, you have Oriental bittersweet in your yard, here's what you can do. You don't have to have paperwork to hand them. Municipalities have a responsibility that I think they have mostly shirked, that they have code they need to enforce. And they need to cause community awareness of these invasives by using the codes. And I'm done. Thank you.
I invite everybody to stay if you have any other questions for Kathy. There's refreshments in the back. There's a table in the back if you have any interest at all to sign up for an invasive weed poll. We have one scheduled for next Saturday from 8 until 11. We're meeting over at the community garden. You're welcome to join us. And then we're having another one the following Saturday. We're focusing on the garlic mustard because, as you can see, it is blooming now, and now is a good time to pick it, and it should be easy picking because of all the rain that we've had. So please come join us. There's another sign-up sheet. If you can't make it either Saturday, then we'll just have some other dates. So if you'd like to be on the list where we contact you, please just write your name and put your email address, and you'll be hearing from us again. It sounds like there's a lot of people here in the village who have an interest and are willing to do something so we can keep our village looking beautiful. So thank you all for coming. Please take some goodies with you. Yeah.
We signed up for that.